Hello there. Today I thought I would do a reaction video to BBC Radio 6's Shoegaze playlist, which was aired on the 18th, Sunday the 18th of October, and it's a real mixed bag, the songs that were selected. It's not all of the usual classics. It's really mixed with lots of old and new, and obscure and classic. Some of them very recognisable songs, some of them not, and it's kind of good and bad with that. I think fair play, really. It's not a bad list at all. Not a bad list at all. Ride Seagull was selected. Absolutely banging opener to an album. One of the greatest debut albums of all time. What more can you say? Probably one of the best ever. Not just debuts, but albums in general. Probably one of the best. Then Andy Bell, member of Ride. His latest solo album, a track from that was selected, Love Comes in Waves, which is a bit obscure, really. I'm not really sure if it qualifies as shoegaze. It's more of a 60s psychedelic krautrock kind of feel to that. I mean, obviously he's a member of Ride, but I wouldn't really class that solo track as a shoegaze track. So, yeah, kind of baffled by that choice. And then you got Spaceman 3 Revolution. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, they were obviously really influential. They toured with, I think Chapter House supported them back in the day. Yeah, really influential definitely on the psychedelic side of the genre, but I never really got into them. I gave one of their albums, Playing with Fire, a spin in the car on the way to work a couple of weeks ago, and I really don't really enjoy it, you know. It's just, a lot of it's really repetitive. It was just like, one of the tracks was like this 3-note riff, and it just played for 10 minutes. And that was it. I just didn't really see the appeal of that. I think they're not really my bag of tea, but I definitely respect the influence that they had on the genre. The next one, Mazzy Star, Fade Into You, again, just like the Andy Bell single. That doesn't belong here. That's not a shoegaze track at all. Mazzy Star were not shoegaze. I know Pale Saints covered Mazzy Star with the Blue Flower song, which was it's a really good cover, by the way. You should definitely check it out. But I don't think Mazzy Star in general were a shoegaze band. It's got a kind of dreamy quality to that song, I guess, a real dreamy ballad, but not really much in the way of effects or like vocal style. It's not really there, but definitely respect the influence on Pale Saints. Slow Dive as well, I think they might have been inspired by them. Next one, Fire Station's Blue Marble. Never heard of that, but I think they're a modern band, and that's really good that Radio 6 are promoting new stuff, new obscure shoegaze. It's really great. But at the same time, if you're thinking about a definitive list, you know, does it really belong in a definitive list? I think it's a bit of a wasted space in a way. But if you want a list that's combining old classic stuff with new obscure stuff, then it's perfect. Depends what way you look at it. If you want a definitive list, that's not really a classic. because I would have heard of it if it was. So yeah, quite an obscure choice. But if you want to know some obscure bands, current bands, then it's perfect for that. The next one, the Verve Slide Away, from the A Storm in Heaven album. Yeah, definitely belongs there. Maybe not the best track to present the Verve, or Verve as they were in that period, just Verve, before they had the copyright issues going on with Virgin and Hut recordings. But yeah, maybe Beautiful Mind would have been a better track there, or Already There. That's another stunner, especially a live version from the Peel session 1992. Definitely check Verve's Peel sessions out. Absolutely stunning. Like when it's combined with the tracks from, what's the EP called? And No Come Down. You've got like A Man Called Sun and She's a Superstar. All of that is proper shoegaze Verve. Definitely recommend checking that out. But yeah, Slide Away, I mean, I'm happy with that. Yeah, I mean, it shows people often forget how the Verve started, and I think that's a really good reminder. Next one is Moose, which is really important because they were the first, allegedly they were the first band to be coined with the name shoegazing. I think it was somebody called Andy Tate, but I've also heard Steve Lamacq coined it, but I read in other articles from other sources say that Andy Tate came up with the name shoegazing because he was looking at, he turned up at a Moose gig once, and the lead singer Russell Yates was just gazing down, looking at lyrics on that he taped to the floor, and obviously the array of effects pedals as well that contributed towards the term being coined, because they were like looking down at their shoes. Well, it looked like it anyway. And there's that kind of disinterest and shyness of a lot of the artists in the scene that celebrates itself. That kind of contributed towards it as well. It's like shyness, so they're like looking, not interacting with the crowd. I think that obviously that was a factor in that term becoming valid. And I think the scene that celebrates itself, that was Steve Sutherland. That's the bloke who came up with that that term for the Thames Valley scene in the early 90s. Steve Sutherland, apparently, another journalist, maybe from the Sounds magazine. But yeah, funny choice. They chose Rub Down from Moose, which is on a later album. When I think of Moose, when I think of shoegazing Moose, I think of the early EPs with Suzanne and Boy and Jack, and Do You Remember, Last Night I Fell Again, XYZ. All those kind of tracks would have been much more fitting, I think. This was like when they went into the country period, and although they do have some songs in their later discography, they do have like Dress You the Same is a shoegaze track. It's like an anomaly for that album, because the rest of it's very like indie pop, country, that kind of vibe going on. But Moose certainly did have the traces of the early shoegaze sound in their later period. But yeah, I listened to Rub Down and really didn't think that was a shoegaze track at all. I think that's a real missed opportunity there by Radio 6. I think if they were to choose a Moose song, you would think it'd be Jack or Suzanne, just one of those real definitive songs, but they went for some very strange choice there. Next, you can't argue with Chap Towers Pearl, stone cold classic there. Very happy with that, from the Whirlpool album from 1991. Yeah, Rachel Goswell from Slowdive was on backing vocals for the outro of the song. So yeah, you can't really get any more shoegaze than that. That's like the whole Reading scene coming together, you know, Slowdive and Chapter House members on one song. It's like a great advert for Reading's music scene there. Yeah, phenomenal, really. It's just like DACG is like, that's pretty much the basis. Those 4 chords are the basis for the whole song, and but they orchestrate it so well with the Alesis quadriverbs and MIDI verbs, which I believe Stephen Patman and Andrew Sheriff use on that album. And yeah, it's just great. Just a real pop tune, and it was just destined for #1 hit. I mean, to me, it's probably the best #1 that wasn't a #1. Just incredible how it didn't peak at the charts. It's just a perfect pop song, and definitely deserves to be on this list. The next one, we got Bedroom, spelt BDRMM for some unknown reason. Yeah, A Reason to Celebrate was chosen. This is from their album, which came out early 2020, I believe. And kudos to Nathaniel Cramp of Sonic Cathedral. What a great label. He's doing a magnificent job there for such a small label. I always buy the Shoegazer t-shirt and that Supreme like parody one, I got that, and I got all the ones that say Shoegazer but like with the writing in funny order. Yeah, brilliant. So good to see that small London based company label on this list, because they are the way forward, I think, for British shoegazing and dream pop. They are the way forward. So great to see Nathaniel Cramp getting what he deserves here and getting a track on the Radio 6 Definitive Shoegaze playlist. Well done, sir. Right, the next one is I think I'm losing my voice a bit. Next one is Slowdive, Catch the Breeze. So just like Pearl, another Stone Cold classic there. Fantastic, uplifting song for Slowdive. Incredible crescendo, especially if you see it live. Really nothing better than that live, with the guitars going just crazy. So yeah, that's just like Ride Seagull. That's another Creation entry to the list. The second entry for Creation Records from the Just for a Day album that song's on, and also you can find it on Holding Our Breath EP. Next one, the Jesus and Mary Chain, Just Like Honey. Yeah, very good. I wouldn't class the Jesus and Mary Chain as a shoegaze band myself, but just like Spaceman 3, you can't really deny the influence. These guys came about in the mid-80s, 1984 /5, depending on where you are in the world, I guess. That's when Psycho Candy was released, and it was kind of the polar opposite of the Cocteau Twins' Treasure and Garland. But those two combined, they created shoegaze, really. You've got the ferocity, the laid back vocals on top of this apocalyptic feedback and fuzz of the Mary Chain, and you combine it with the ambient, ethereal, otherworldly style of the Cocteau Twins, and you've got shoegaze there in one package. It's 4AD, Cocteau Twins on 4AD, and the Jesus and Mary Chain and Creation. The Creation, you know, they create the Creation sound. Jesus and Mary Chain created the Creation sound, arguably, and the Cocteau Twins created the 4AD sound. arguably. And you combine those two labours together, and that's really what fused shoegaze in the early 90s. It's the combination of those two labels, really, to me. The next one, you've got Beach House, Space Song. I listened to that, and yeah, it represents the electronic side very well. I don't think there's any guitar on it. If there is, it's very well blended with the synths. Yeah, very emotional bands, Beach House, very emotional songs. Definitely one of the favourites in modern day shoegaze. You go onto forums, you go onto groups on Facebook and that, and Beach House are always mentioned. So yeah, well done there. I think they're from Chicago. Same with Ariel, same places where Ariel are from, and they have an album coming up which I'm really getting excited for. They dropped a single called Bloom, and I'm very impressed with it. It's vintage Ariel, and that band can do no wrong in my eyes. I think Ariel are one of the best. I really think they helped with Sway in the early noughties. I think they really carried the flame of shoegaze. I really think they brought it in the 21st. They brought it into the 21st century. The Winks and Kisses EPs, the collection of those 4 EPs, labelled Winks and Kisses, all together, and Sway's Milia Pink and Green EP. I think they are essential for getting into modern shoegaze, or new gaze as people term it. Although I hate the term new gaze because it just sounds like Limp Bizkit combined with My Bloody Valentine. I just think of new metal as soon as somebody says that word. So I always say modern shoegaze or classic shoegaze. That's all it is to me. It's just a continuation that is. It's kind of evolved, but also stayed the same, which is a great thing because it doesn't really. If it ain't broke, why fix it? That's how I look at it. I think shoegaze was perfected in the 90s, and it's like, why? There's no point in really building on it, you know. It's perfect as it is. But I mean, there have been evolutions, but it doesn't really need to be too much because it was perfected in the 90s. So that's my view on it. Next, My Bloody Valentine, finally. I'm wearing a Loveless t-shirt today with Sometimes. So this is the third, this is the fourth creation song on the playlist. Yep, can't go wrong with that. Very unique song. The fact that it lacks drums and it uses the acoustic guitar as the percussion. I think it really adds this atmosphere of despair, and I can just imagine being alone in a dark room and just contemplating life. It's that kind of song. You just like, you're in a dark room looking out the window and just thinking about life. I think that's what this song represents. I think the lack of the drums create this mood where it's like, it's more like you're in a cocoon of sound. I think the lack of percussion, it kind of makes it more focused on a feeling. I think that's how I see it. Whereas if it had drums, I think it would be too like groovy and you would want to bob your head. But I think without the percussion, it kind of adds to the despair. You know, something's missing. You know, it's symbolic of something that's missing. Not just literally, but like figuratively. Sorry, can't say that word properly. Figuratively, I think the lack of the drums symbolises like the lack of something in life. Yeah, I do think deep about this stuff, but yeah, I mean, I'm reviewing, so I've got to think deep. Right, so next, The House of Love, I Don't Know Why I Love You. I didn't know this song before. I know the band. I love Love in the Car is my favourite song from this band. Shine On's decent, and obviously Christine's very influential in the whole scene with the vibrato and the chorus. Yeah, I listened to this song, and I think that's another funny choice. I think just like Moose's choice earlier, you know, they've gone for something that is from a shoegazy band, but it's not really the definitive shoegaze track from them. It's kind of just normal indie rock. Yeah, I think they could have done better with the selection. I think Christine or Love in the Car would have been much more appropriate. Next one, Shambolics, Love Collides. Yeah, I mean, Shambolics, they're from the Creation 23 label, which Alan McGee fired up a couple of years ago. So the original Creation record owner, Alan McGee, the big figurehead of Creation, he's finally fired up another label, and he's got more of a punk attitude, I think, with the bands he signs this time. Seems to be focused on lad rock a lot, possibly trying to find his new oasis. It's a shame if he's abandoned the kind of more experimental bands that he once had. But Shambolics, yeah, I think it's a good song. Love Collides. I did listen to it, and certainly has some traces of shoegaze, but I wouldn't say it's a definitive track at all. I think there's much stronger stuff out there. You know, why not pick like Miniatures or Aerial or Flying Colours, Low Tide? There's so many options today. Rev. Just like any of those bands they could have picked, but they've gone for some kind of punky band which like has one song that has a trace of shoegaze in it, but don't know why they're going for that. Next one, this Mortar Coil. This is another 4AD release. Song to the Siren, not shoegaze. Elizabeth Fraser does sing on this song beautifully, I must say, but not shoegaze. It's just like the Mazzy Star song, really. Fade Into You. Doesn't really belong here, but it is a beautiful, ethereal song, ethereal vocals, but not much in the instrumentation. You know, you don't get this wall of sound that Phil Spector would be proud of. You don't get that, but you do get these ethereal vocals. But it's more of the ethereal wave stuff, like Dead Can Dance or that. But yeah, Elizabeth Fraser's on it, so you can see the connection there. Next, you got Curved Horror Head, which I think I requested myself through Twitter to be on the show. I think they listened to me because the song was played like 5 minutes after I requested it, so I was responsible for that. Get in there, yes. Yeah, it definitely deserves to be there. Electronic feel combined with MBV guitars. Curve were really ahead of the curve, literally. Phenomenal. It's a shame that Tony doesn't want to be in music anymore, and they won't reunite despite Dean Garcia's best attempts. It just won't happen. But we've always got YouTube to listen to their legacy, and what a legacy it is. Next up, we got Pale Saints, You Tear the World in Two. Yep, another 4AD addition here to the list. Yeah, great band. But I don't think that's the right track though. I think Hair Shoes or Baby Maker, lots of shouts for Baby Maker in the comments of the Radio 6 article, and like Ordeal, 1,000 Stars, Burst Open, A Thread of Lights, Never Ending Dreams, or Never Ending Nights, I think it is. Yeah, I think that would have been a much better choice, but yeah, just glad that the Pale Saints are on there because they really deserve to be there, so can't really argue with that. Next, the Smiths, How Soon Is Now. Yeah, very overlooked actually as a shoegaze track. Obviously people associate them with new wave and post-punk. This is 1984, so the same time as like Psycho Candy, and yeah, Johnny Marr, obviously he used the tremolo on this. all through the song, inspired by Can apparently, so there's a krautrock influence. Yeah, and it's great, it's phenomenal, and it's got that kind of dark edge and that kind of depressing edge, which is quite common theme in shoegaze, so you can definitely see why it's there. Yeah, good choice, Radio 6. And one that a lot of people will recognise, the general public will recognise as well. Next, Lush, Ethereal. So another 4AD edition. Mickey Bereni's voice, absolutely phenomenal. I met her in real life last year, such an honour, when she was playing with Piroshka, this little side project, which is like after Lush split, she formed a little like super group, if you wish, with Justin Welsh from Elastica on drums. Is it Conway? Bill Conway or something? Can't remember his first name. Bill Conway, I think it is, from Modern English on bass, and her husband from Moose, KJ McKillop, who I also feel very honoured to have met that night. But yeah, Lush, Ethereal. So this is from the Scar EP, which I do own myself, and it's quite an unusual choice really. I would have thought it would have been like Nothing Natural, Desire Lines, Sweetness and Light. You know, these are the massive tracks. Deluxe, that was always a great gig opener. But yeah, I'm glad they've gone for like an EP track, and I listened to it because I couldn't remember how it went, and it really is a phenomenal track. The guitar playing and the arrangement is great. You know, you can see why Robin Guthrie was enthralled to produce these guys, because they really are special songwriters, so unique. And Emma Anderson and Mickey Bereni's chord changes, you just don't expect it, but somehow they managed to meld it all together. Excellent choice, Radio 6. Next, yeah, Piroshka, as I said, Everlastingly Yours. Seeing these guys live, yeah, they were really good, and maybe not quite shoegaze, more in the dream pop vein. This is, but yeah, great choice there, Radio 6. Next, Plant Cell, which is a Japanese band, I believe. Spirit Who Dwells on or in a Mountain and Forest. So yeah, I mean, it's great. So we've got an overseas band here, which is great to see. You know, it's showcasing the breadth of this genre. You know, how far spread it is across the globe. I'm really glad that Radio 6 have highlighted that here. That's a great choice. And then they ended it with Ride Vapor Trail. Splendid song, splendid swirling guitars. So yeah, So I think Ride were the only bands that managed to get 2 tracks on the playlist. Yeah, can't really argue with that. Off one of the best albums of all time, I think you'll find. Right there. Nowhere. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. Yeah, mixed bag. I mean, there's certainly some big omissions there, you know. I think Kitchen of Distinctions, they should have been added. And I think some of the selections for the bands, the actual tracks, could have been a bit more definitive. You know, look at like Moose and Pale Saints. I don't think it really represents the genre. The tracks they've chosen are like they went for obscure, but then they're so obscure they're not shoegaze. They try too hard, I think, to find an obscure track, but in doing that they've selected something that's not really fitting in the category. But they've certainly got some big classics there. Chapter House Pearl, Slow Dive Catch the Breeze, Ride Vapor Trail, Curve Horror Head, Ride Seagull, My Bloody Valentine sometimes. So yeah, they've certainly got some biggies there, and it's good also that they've promoted like Sonic Cathedral Band. You know, they've got smaller bands on here that need promotion, especially during these tough pandemic times. Yeah, fingers crossed. Prey, absolutely pray that these venues stay open. They're going to need a lot more funding, I think. Especially like the places in Bristol, the Fleece, which is my like nearest port of call. I think they need to really fund the places like that. But yeah, it's good. I mean, Radio 6 playlist, just glad for the recognition of the genre. So well done, guys. Well done. And I look forward to more playlists in the future. Alright, I'm going to check out now. So yeah, nice to be with you guys. Stay shoegazing. That's my salute to you all. I'm really looking forward to the Nothing album coming out October the 30th. I've pre-ordered that, so it might be coming on the 29th for me. Aerial, another much anticipated release on its way. Very impressed by the Bloom track. Flying Colours, I think they've still got to finish recording their album, but so looking forward to that coming out. Snowdiver currently recording stuff. Ryder going in the studio during winter. So there's a lot to look forward to, gazers. A lot to look forward to. So yeah, gonna check out, guys, and see you later. Bye bye.